This is a Polar Star podcast. My name is Lee Nason, and thank you for hitting play on my show today. This is the Polar Star podcast, where I have conversations with artists, entertainers, and business owners that call Maine home. My guest this week is stand-up comic Caleb Sherman. Caleb and I spend this conversation throwing each other down memory lane. Caleb is somebody I wish I met 10 years ago. We would have been fast friends, and we definitely became fast friends in the comedy community. We have an incredible amount in common. We grew up in the same culture in separate cities, idolizing musicians and countercultures. Our conversation definitely gets heavy into our drug endeavors, but it's a large part of how we developed our identities. Exploring our minds, philosophies, tolerances, and boundaries within ourselves and each other. Finding acceptance around stigmas is definitely part of life that we have cherished the most, and I feel like that's what I took away from this conversation. Caleb is a good friend to me in the comedy community. I'm definitely grateful to have had this conversation with him. The fact that we get to share it with you makes it that much better for the both of us, really. If you like this show, please tell a friend, subscribe where you listen, and visit polarstarpodcast.com to see everything that's coming out of the Polar Star studio here. Please email polarstarpodcast@gmail.com if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to appear on the show, or if you want to develop a show of your own. And if you want to learn how to develop a show, please reach out. I want to match producers with content creators here in this studio and use this space to its fullest extent. So please reach out to polarstarpodcast@gmail.com. With no further delay, here's my conversation with Caleb Sherman. I wake up anywhere between like noon and 2, and then I'm like, and then I'm up until at least 4 a.m. At least.
Damn.
I'm not. Yeah.
We're like inverse.
Really?
Yeah, operating on different sides of the spectrum.
I know so many people that are morning people too, and I think that in some way I'm like fighting my nature by not being a morning person. Like I feel like I'm meant to be a morning person.
Mm-hmm.
And when yeah, and when I do
nocturnal.
I don't think that. I think some people
can do it.
Function a little bit better in the nighttime, the off time. You know,
I feel like I thought I was for the longest time. I would burn the midnight oil, but I don't know.
I know so many people
come in and out of it. Maybe it's
like
a youth thing too.
That's exactly what I think.
Neither of us are spring chickens.
No. But Caleb Sherman, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lee. Happy to chat.
Yeah, it's we have rescheduled this a few times, so
we did.
But yeah, here we are. But yeah, I know a few people. The guy I work with, he's just up at like 6 a.m. now. Mm-hmm. He just gets up.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit COVID related.
Really?
To just be a morning person. My work schedule is a little different. I get off a little earlier. I'm less exhausted. So I don't know. Sometimes though, I wait. I do usually get like 6-7 hours of sleep.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
do you have any trouble with sleep?
I've been trying to get better quality sleep.
Yeah.
Lately.
Do you wake up in the middle of the night?
I feel like it's hard to say. I have no memory of doing so.
Yeah.
But then also I kind of do. Like I feel like I toss and turn.
Do you?
And I'm a mouth breather, which is not ideal. Science says that's bad.
Yeah.
That's like related to like a reduction in your IQ over time. Did you know that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's fucked up. I started taping my mouth shut.
Really?
Literally tape my mouth shut. It works. Only when my nose works. So like my nose has been broken too many times to function every day.
Has it really?
So it's just like non-functioning. Like last night I couldn't do the tape the whole night. I took it off before I fell asleep.
Really?
Because my nose was just not working. Yeah.
See,
fucked up.
I did what I thought was irreparable damage to my nose.
Yeah.
Turns out it's fine.
That's good.
Yeah. It turns out I cleared some some passages.
Yeah. Just sort of like sticking a hot iron up there. What do you like? Just cauterized your
Yeah.
yeah.
It's callous.
Yep.
It's all calloused up.
It's for the better.
Yeah, I'm a nose breather now.
Yeah. I wish I was.
So clear.
Work on it so hard. It's so hard to not mouth breathe.
Yes.
And it's like there's no winning when you're trying to like
No.
It's not a pretty thing to just like try to breathe through your nose laboriously. It's ugly. It's ugly. It's not fun.
I've been doing I have a regular meditation practice now, which has actually trained me a little bit better to breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
Because it's all nose breathing.
I should make a breathing exercise a part of my day. Hell yeah.
It helps.
Yeah,
it really helps.
I bet it would.
Yeah.
There've been brief stints in my life where I've managed to meditate with some regularity, but I've never made it a practice, you know?
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for
it's new.
The practice.
It's new.
It's good. Keep it up. I'm sure it'll have benefits beyond the nose.
We'll see.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing things
are
going
zen
okay.
Attitude about it. I like that. See? I think it's already working. It's good. Just chill. We'll see. That is meditation, right?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here with my thoughts, breathing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Focus on breath.
Yes. At the beginning of it, I wanted to like make something happen, which I think is normal. That's a normal way to get into it.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh no, I just need to just wait. I just need to wait, like be patient. And so now my thing is I just patiently wait for the timer to end.
That's a great that is a great explanation of meditation. Patiently waiting for the timer to end.
I do it for 20 minutes and my timer has like a breathing function on it. So if I get distracted, I just tune into the breath work. It's like 4 in, 6 out. So when I get to, which I obviously get distracted, and I'm trying not to check the time. Now I'm down to only checking the time once.
Well, when you say you get distracted, you mean
I start to lose myself in thoughts.
You're thinking, right? And so you have to stop thinking and just focus on breath again, or
I stop.
Sort of empty, yeah.
I literally can feel myself taking the focus away from breath back into thought.
Right. It's such a beautiful practice. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Because you're exercising that ability to recognize when you've become distracted, right?
Yes.
So like that you can sort of clench that muscle if you have to and not be distracted more and more.
Exactly. And it's being aware of where your focus is.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I feel like that's the hardest part because, you know, we live in a distracted, society. We grew up distracted.
Yeah. There are more distractions than things to be distracted from.
Exactly. and I want to say like fetishizing multitasking, you know?
Yeah. Multitasking brought to the level of fetish. People identify as sort of scatterbrained, like involved, highly effective people who are doing all the things, spinning all the plates all the time.
And like, that's a good thing.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
It's very work driven, like goal oriented focus of life, which I think is
but you gross. Truly get more done and more out of what you're doing if you just focus on one thing at a time.
For sure. Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not always great at it myself, but
no, it's like this new thing that nobody taught us, but we have to learn.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like I'm like very good at not wanting to do a lot of things, but I'm like focused, not like the realizing where my attention is being spent, like that part of it. I'm not always good at. Get caught up in thought and spiral at times, Yes,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And where it's like, I want people's attention. So I need to start being aware of where mine is.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
How can I expect people to care enough to give me their attention if mine is, what do I even know about attention?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mine has
I
to
like
be
that.
engaged if I expect other people's to be,
Right?
you know?
Mm.
Let's get into just how we know each other.
Oh, yeah.
We know each other through stand-up comedy,
Yeah. Open mics.
open mics.
Lee strolling into open mics, being like a real fan, I feel like. Loving the scene.
I
and
do.
dabbling, having
Yes.
fun, getting up there sometimes, being one of the few fans that like has the balls to like do it and to like appreciate the craft at the level of a participant in the craft, and yet kind of takes you're the man behind the scenes usually.
Yes.
So you kind of take you have a just such an I've always respected your appreciation of the open mic for what it is.
Yeah.
And like your ability with the other comics, the people who kind of like go after it in this little local scene that we're adjacent to or a part of.
Yeah.
I've always just sort of fit right in to that crowd because you're like, yep, this is the show. Like I know what's going on here.
I like being a good audience.
Hell yeah.
I
Yes.
really do.
You're a great audience member. And
Yeah.
also I think pretty funny on occasion.
On occasion, sometimes, if I have something to say. Sometimes I just get up there because I want to get up there, and I actually have nothing to say, and
That's
I have not, and that's when it's like, you get a quick dose of reality.
Yeah, it's a shot of life, but it feels good.
But I wanted to ask you because you just set me up so perfectly for my question.
Oh, okay.
I have been doing open mics for 6 years.
Wow.
But yet I still don't call myself a comedian by any sense of the word.
Yeah.
I've gotten booked on 1 or 2 shows in 6 years, but it's because, as you said, it's a hobby for me. I have my career and I don't have the time to put in like I have that.
Yeah.
So out of respect for comedy, I don't call myself a comedian because I haven't broken out of open mics at all.
You're open micer.
Would you call yourself a comedian? Because you've gotten booked.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I identify as a person, like a comic, a comedian.
You do.
Yeah.
You comfortably will label yourself that.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I still also, I mean, am I a hobbyist too? I don't know. I have a career path. I can do that.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I like have to get 6 bookings a month and like get paid? I don't know. I would refer to myself as an open micer up until I was like regularly doing paid work, mostly at Empire.
You were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like
I think that's the threshold.
Hosting shows.
Getting paid.
That's sort of a weird place to draw the line, but I feel like you're right. Like it's like, I'm well, and like, is anyone in Portland right now a comedian?
I mean,
right now, no one's doing it. So
I think if you have been paid and you can
in the last 6 months, like what's the cutoff? It's a weird place to draw the line, and it's like a definitional obscurity. I think if you're calling yourself a comedian and you aren't, everybody but you knows it. Like you did 2 open mics and then you put it in your Facebook bio.
Yes.
Not calling anybody out in the Portland, Maine area.
Yeah.
But it's just like, no, you're not. Yeah, you're also a social media influencer.
Again, I'll repeat myself. Out of respect for the craft, I don't know how you can, think you are. Yeah. If you haven't gotten booked and or paid to do spots, like I don't. So I just wanted to ask that because we are in this fledgling scene of comedy, where even the people who have been doing it a long time here haven't been doing it a crazy amount of time.
True.
With the people that we kind of hang out with.
Yeah.
There are a few.
Oh yeah. People that hustle.
Yeah, and it's respect. The people who can make it, a regular part of life here.
Yeah,
I respect
the hell out of that.
It's not easy.
No, getting down to Boston, New York on the regular, getting up.
You got to really want
up here. Yeah, the Al Gonikers,
Yeah,
the Colby Bradshaws especially.
Jason Fogg.
I'm not familiar with the Jason Fogg
Or
around
not
here.
Jason. What's his dad's name?
Oh, Dennis Fogg?
Dennis Fogg.
Dennis Fogg.
I work with Jason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dennis Fogg has been doing it for like longer than I've been alive.
Exactly.
And also running a business, I think, and like being a family person.
Exactly.
Like, respect.
He cracks me up.
Yeah, and he's like slick. I don't like he's, you know, a boomer, but
Yeah.
like he's a slick comic. He's fucking got his lines down and he knows how to play with them and experiment.
And he's constantly bringing something new.
Yeah,
which is what I
pushing
like.
it. He helped me refine the ash chant. Do you remember my closer, my go-to?
Oh, really? Yeah.
He was like,
I like that.
because I used to just like chant ass with
Yeah,
people.
yeah. If you're a tits man or ass man.
But he was like, it needs to be duh, duh, duh. It needs to be we love ass.
And not just
And
ass,
then it started
ass.
working.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a crazy man on stage chanting ass. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna join in.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
One of my favorite memories with you was that, you know, I get wrapped up in work and I can't make it, you know, I can't get on stage for weeks at a time. You know, I just get busy during our busy seasons. And so I remember I got out of work and I was walking by Empire on an open mic night. And I ran into you and you're like, come on, like, come on, get up. What are you doing? I'm like, I got nothing. I want to, but, and then it was like, I was like, cause I loved your, Antiques Roadshow bit.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, I'll go get on stage if I can do your Antiques Roadshow bit.
You did it better than me.
Because I want I want to show you that it's funny.
It was great when you did it.
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite. That was definitely a highlight was doing that bit.
That was a great night. I remember that vaguely, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, I have permission to do Caleb's bit.
Yeah. That was one of those bumping nights too. I feel like
so I appreciate it because it got me laughs and you know, I mean, you got the laughs, but through me.
Yeah,
I was a conduit to laughs.
You had a vision for that bit.
I love that bit.
You executed it well.
Because I want you to do it. Because I want you to keep doing it. It's timeless. That premise is so timeless. Well, for our generation that grew up with Antiques Roadshow on every day.
Yeah.
You know, and so that reference is just kind of evergreen.
Yeah,
and I believe in that joke.
It's ages old. I mean,
is it?
Yeah. I guess I've backed off. I should have been more bold about that one. Should have just done it more. And also just leaned into the fact that, like, having lived with the crackhead, I can poke a little fun at the idea. Like,
yeah.
People, I feel like people in Portland, Maine are like pretty sensitive about it.
Having had been a crackhead, I could lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah. You did say
more or less
after I did that, you were like, nah, we can take it. I was like, I don't want to be seen to be disparaging people with substance abuse disorder. And you're like, we can take it.
I want it.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love. And it's not punching down. That joke is not about punching down at all.
No.
There should be a crackhead roadshow.
It's a little stereotype, but I think it's in a way it's toward a person, it's toward a stereotype that laughs at themselves.
I guess so.
What I do now is I just kind of now that we're here, now we make our way back to this general location.
Okay.
So where are you from?
Middle of fucking nowhere, Pennsylvania.
You grew up in Pennsylvania.
I grew up.
Okay.
Did my growing up from 6th grade to my first year of college.
Okay, yeah, your formative years.
That's right. That's like when you do your growing up.
Small town?
Very. Rural as fuck.
Like farms?
Tiny little sort of suburban town.
Small town, really. Like small schools?
There were 500 kids in my graduating class.
Yeah. So
some people that's small.
Tiny. Yeah.
Some people that's really big.
I want to get a picture of what high school Caleb was like.
Oh, man. Yeah. I like definitely identify with the teen like people for whom adolescence was kind of rough, like
Okay.
teen Slipknot shirts,
Yes.
like just really shitty attitude.
Yes. We would have been friends. My best friend growing up, or one of my really close friends, Shelly, same Slipknot shirts. You know, we all dyed our hair. We all like
never dyed my hair, but
no.
yes, that scene, those kids were my my crew. Yeah, I don't know.
You felt like you had somewhere to go. You had bigger places.
It wasn't fucking school. Yeah. It was a waste of my time. School was like, I was above it all.
Did you get good grades?
I skated by as like a B student. I
Yeah.
didn't ever have to
without
put in a
having
lot
to
of
try.
effort.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's pretty common.
Yeah, I'm learning now. There's sort of like a category of like in therapy that therapists think of as of like burnt out gifted kids, like gifted kids who were they were told, "Oh, you're so smart," rather than like, "Oh, you worked really hard." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
They were rewarded just so like you did well on a test. And it was like, "Oh, that's great. Because you kill it. Like you're just so smart," rather than like, "Oh, you must have studied really hard." So I feel like the people who end up being academics or like really truly brilliant intellectuals are the ones who worked, who
studied,
developed the habit, studied,
yes,
had to put real effort into understanding concepts.
Yes.
And then people who took it all for granted and were just shitty and didn't absorb the sort of unwritten curriculum of like how to like lay out and learn, like how to discipline yourself to learn and absorb information.
Yes.
They just become like the kind of artist burnout, like fuzzy headed types.
Your therapist told you this?
No, I picked it up actually. Some YouTuber, Dr. K on YouTube, or Healthy Gamer GG.
I'm not familiar.
He's like some Harvard educated therapist, very good, but did like a whole special with just like burnt out gifted kids. And I identify as that. Like I took a lot of AP classes, so that was also me in high school. It was like in the advanced classes. I think that's a flawed model of education to begin with, that you have the kids, the advanced track kids, the large swath of normal kids, and then the tiny tucked away resource room for the kids who are like need remedial stuff.
It's funny you bring that up. It's funny you bring that up because I was like a hybrid. I had an individualized education plan and resource room and help in school.
Yeah.
But I was also in honors math.
Nice.
And so it's like I just like made, I kind of broke that mold that you're talking about.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
I'm from Wilmington, Massachusetts.
Oh, Mass.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. North Shore.
Mass. I don't know Mass.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it honestly sounds, when I was there, it was suburbs, it was a really kind of, soft white bread suburban town. But it had that kind of woodsy feel, there's a lot of swamps that couldn't be built on in Wilmington. So there's a lot of undeveloped land. And there was like I was in Boy Scouts, and there was like a Boy Scout camp like in the town, so it was this kind of odd place to be, it was like 20 minutes away from Boston.
Oh, wow.
But like it had like woods and trails and, swamps and things like that.
Sounds kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. It was definitely, privileged, as we would say now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's weird. We were like an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of New York City in the place in Pennsylvania I was.
Okay.
Like, but only 20, like the nearest mall was in New York, in Middletown, New York, Southern Orange County, New York. And Jersey was like 5 minutes down the road over a bridge. So there's like, it's a weird connected sort of place, but like full of waterfalls and national park areas and like just trails. And also we lived in a development called the Water Forest where there was like swamps everywhere and people couldn't develop on it. So it was very spread out.
Yeah.
But
now, did you appreciate any of that when you were young?
Yeah. I ran around in the woods so much.
Did you?
Also, okay, until I was until maybe like 16, I was the kid running around fighting trees with sticks. Love it.
Yeah.
Like running through the woods in Pennsylvania. The place in Dingman's Ferry, the mountainous areas there like are where icebergs just dumped all of their rock. Do you know about this phenomenon? So like
no.
It is full of rock. There's just rock. So we had a wooded
like
boulders and smaller slate shale and shit. And like,
okay.
So it's just like trees and rocks.
Really?
Yes.
All right. I know like that mid-Atlantic is really nice, like forest, because it doesn't completely freeze for as long as it does up here.
Oh, word.
And it's like, I know like Maryland, like driving through Maryland, you get like you start to get like the vines in the trees and all of that stuff. And like, yeah, I don't know.
I think we're a little north. It's
kind of non sequitur, but
no, it's nice. Nature. Totally appreciated growing up in nature. And
you did.
Waterfalls and places to hike.
Okay.
I appreciated it much more once I started smoking weed in high school.
When did that happen?
17-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then did that become identity?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Then I was sort of like with the druggy kids who were smoking cigs. Yes.
But if you were already kind of leaning into like that hardcore, too cool for school kind of vibe, it was definitely the way you were going anyway.
Yeah. One might have predicted that I would end up smoking cigarettes at 17 in 6th grade.
Yeah. Yeah. You had that.
Probably bet on it. I did.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, coming from a relatively like middle class privilege. My parents are incredible parents, like parenty parents, like
a
little hippie-ish, but also like careerist. I don't know. We didn't want for anything. Like,
but were they held stock in education?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Books, and house. They homeschooled my brother and sister.
Wow.
Once they had a third, they were kind of.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest of 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Once I came around, it was like too much. They were getting burnt out on the homeschool group they were with and shit.
I can only
imagine. But they are like, my, neither of them, well, my mom has a college degree now, but neither of them at the time were college graduates. My dad went to a free school in the 70s. That's really cool and interesting.
Really?
Which is like, so like my grandfather is a philosophy professor of like 50 years. And he, in the 70s, sent his kids to a free, like an experimental free school where the kids were like, there were no structured classes and the kids decided what they wanted to learn, essentially.
Oh, I had no idea what you meant when you said free school.
That's what a free school is.
What?
So like, it's hard to explain because the concept doesn't, I mean, I think there still are kind of schools that like, isn't a Montessori school like very hands-on and the teachers kind of just, there's no like beginning and ending to classes. I don't know. My dad learned math.
Public education in Massachusetts. I don't know any of these things.
This was happening in the 70s. Intellectuals like my grandfather were like, let's, be revolutionaries and not subject our kids to the man.
Yeah.
So we're going to have free school. And it was like an experiment that my dad will tell you was like too much freedom for kids.
Really?
He won the Narc of the Year award. I find it fascinating.
Because he wasn't into it. He wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid.
Not unlike me, he rebelled against his surroundings. You know what I mean? And his surroundings were
free school.
Teachers smoking weed with the kids. Like at a meeting in this school, there was a big controversy because they wanted to ban alcohol. There's no drinking. Kids can't drink. We're going to get we're barely like an accredited thing as it is. We can't have alcohol. And like the teachers were like, this is fucking fascism. Like How dare you take it? This is bullshit. I'm out. If we can't have beer,
If I can't give these kids beer.
This is a funny thing that happened. But
okay, all right.
so that is my dad. He was pulling up people's pot plants and
Really?
was very anti-drug. Like saw it destroy people and saw like people who should have been revolutionaries sort of squander that freedom.
In the 70s, that is a very common story.
Really?
Yeah, that a lot of people see the 70s as a very dark time because it was, there were, people squandering their talents.
Okay.
To drop out, tune in and drop out.
Yeah.
Just became drop out.
Mm-hmm.
And people like your father saw through it.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't the popular opinion, but it was an opinion that I have heard before. Because I'm into like Grateful Dead, and so I am a kind of a student of, the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And it just what I gather is that the 70s just tried to relive the magic that happened in like 67, 68, 69. But the 70s really were, the culture had jumped the shark. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't free love and it wasn't that free and open and communal society like everybody thinks it was. It was kind of a dark time to live.
Right.
Where like that
kind of like people started coming down. People started realizing that their sustainable farm wasn't going to make it, and it was a lot of work. And
the heroin hit.
and the heroin. True.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because following the rights movement, you clamped down with your iron fist. Drugs became conveniently available for all the kids. Do you know the Prison song by System of a Down?
No.
They cover this.
Really?
That song is just infinitely accurate and like applicable and salient, topical always.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what it reminded me of.
It's strange that like I do, the Grateful Dead is exactly what I'm saying was bad about the 70s.
Just a drug culture of grifter types just going town to town. Yeah,
pretty much, and it was like, yes, it is very freeing, and the music is tapped into something that's real and has a genuine message. But the culture around it definitely became distorted quickly.
Right. Isn't that wild? This is why we can't have nice things like as a species.
It really is.
Like, because we could have, this is another line that comes to mind that somebody else said that I can't remember who said, but like that, the 70s was a time where we could have had free love, and the 80s, like we realized that we chose the shopping channel instead.
Yeah, we chose malls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad that we humans went through that.
Instead of parks to picnic in, we chose malls and Orange Julius.
Kerouac would be sad.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
It seems like every time I do hallucinogens, this message comes through too. This is transcendent, but the infrastructure doesn't exist to support this like mindset. Like,
no,
I will be persecuted for being this radically open and happy right now. Like that's how it feels. There's always a moment where the world tries to kind of crash into the trip and it's like all too real.
Yes.
That I don't know.
My anxiety's fed into that wholly for like the last couple of years. The last couple of years, I took hallucinogens. Mm-hmm. My anxieties rode on the fact that I will be literally destroyed for having this much fun. Yeah. Right. But I spent years. I talk about it actually, but I spent years thinking just that the world was out to get me. Mm-hmm. That I was being hunted and persecuted and was going to be wiped out for the greater good of humanity.
What about you was a plague to the?
Oh, I'm the second coming.
Oh. I see. Well, that's
Quite
no.
literally am Jesus Christ. But
Yeah, no, it feels like entheogens, right? Inspiring the divine within, as they say.
Yeah.
So like you do feel like you're a walking enlightened Buddha.
I just felt, you get to this point. I just got to this point where I was feeling so synchronized, just so in tune, in the right moment that I'm meant to be in. I was too young. I went to my head.
Yeah, I've witnessed this happen to so many of my friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I kind of wish
too much.
I wish I waited until I was like 30, until I had some maturity to wrap my head around these things.
Yeah.
When did those start to take place, the hallucinogens?
Oh, I started
in your 20s?
Yeah. Well, no, earlier. Like I tripped when I was like 17, 18.
In high school still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mushrooms.
Okay.
And like MDMA. That's a hallucinogen, right? Kind of. No, it's not.
Kind of. Yeah. I think a lot of what we thought was MDMA was meth.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I've definitely done some pills that were not MDMA.
Yes.
No. Oh my God. And I know people who. Oh my God. Yeah. No stories.
I think a lot of it was, biker speed that we were rubbing in our
whatever
gums.
They could
just glass.
Fucking press into a pill. They were fucking selling. Yeah.
You were the double stacks, the printed stuff, the dolphins,
the double blue diamond, triple red star. Yeah, whatever the fuck.
Yes. How old are you? Are we the exact same age? Because
I'm 20. I'm gonna be 29 in April.
Oh, okay. I'm 33, so I'm a few years older than you. So right. So the fact that, well, maybe because you were a little rural, because I started to see the end of that, in college. But yeah, the orange Supermans and the blue dolphins and the this and that and that and this and they was just all dirty cocktails.
Who knows? What was it? It was everyone always, that was always the rumor too, like that would go around. It was like, oh, this stuff's got either meth or piperazine, some crazy shit.
Well, all of those things spurred this whole movement to test your drugs.
Yeah, which is great. Harm reduction. Awesome. Yeah.
The bunk police.
One thing that I'm out of the whole drug culture, I was always, especially in college later, adjacent to the kind of Grateful Dead, Fish, rave, music festival scene.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my friends moved in that sort of like group, but I was too broke to like be going to a festival and worked full time. So I was like, but I loved music. I'd jam with people and like,
did you play
those
music?
Those were my people, I played drums. Yeah.
You played drums? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you own a set?
I did. I had an electric kit and those were the best days of jamming.
Yes.
In college. Oh my God. So great.
Yeah.
That was the peak of my talent. I don't have a kit now. It'd like just be too loud to keep in
it's the hardest instrument to play. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm rusty as fuck. I want to go to Sun Tiki and rent it, but I regret never going to the festivals and to the like I went to a Fish show once and stood still as a statue, just geeked out of my mind on acid that was like ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
That I took too much of.
Yep.
That's a waste. But at these festivals, like there is a bit of a culture, and this harm reduction movement
was born in those.
Born in that scene. And a lot of, I think,
I have a funny story.
Comes from there.
I have a funny story. So I got into festivals a little bit later, but I got into them through working at them because I'm an audio engineer.
Hell yeah.
And so I actually, it ties into exactly what you were saying. It was at the height of my use where I have a constant stream of benzos just in my system all the time. So I really wasn't stressing. I wasn't stressing much at this point.
Right.
I was taking like 5-6 milligrams of Klonopin or Xanax a day. And so I go to work this festival in Pennsylvania, actually. And it was on this like guy's private land. And so it was actually one of the best festivals I've ever been to. It was small. It was like 2,000 people, maybe like 1,500 people, really small.
Mountain Jam?
No, it was called Luna Light.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like 2014.
Oh, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, Mountain Jam was like way out in the.
Is that PA though? I feel like that's one that my PA friends.
Scranton is on. Peach Fest, and then they just moved Bisco to Montauk Mountain in Scranton. They've been doing that. Peach Fest has been there for like the past 6-7 years.
That's where Montauk, I think, is where I went to 2010 Warped Tour, the only real live music experience of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
I went to in 8th grade all the way through high school. I went to all the Warped Tours.
Dope.
Yeah, we would have totally been like, if we grew up together.
Yeah,
we would have hung out every day.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So were you into the hardcore, the deathcore?
I wasn't, but my friends definitely were.
For sure.
Yeah.
Went through a heavy deathcore phase.
I stayed pretty light. I was into I went from Green Day, Blink-182, a little bit of like harder stuff like Dead Kennedys, but like no effects.
Mm-hmm. I love all this stuff.
Bad Religion.
I still love all this stuff.
Yeah. I actually got to work with Bad Religion recently.
What?
Yeah.
That dude is so cool. The lead singer's like a professor at Dartmouth, isn't he? He's like
they
such
were
a
the
badass.
guys. They were the guys that like they're doing it right.
Fuck yeah.
They're like sticking it to the man with education and like with actually knowing what they're talking about, and they're not just a bunch of angsty teenage kids fucking running around high on meth.
See, I discovered Bad Religion late. I feel like that would have been good for me in my youth.
So I got really turned on to like Geffen Records.
I don't know,
like
that.
Out of like south. So I was a musician, and I idolized musicians. I like followed the record labels and then Warped Tour, and like I went to my first Warped Tour in like 8th grade, and went to like all the Warped Tours that were in my for 5 years in a row. I went to all of them. And that was like what I really want to do. I started throwing. The first show I produced was in my driveway when I was 15 years old. It's
That's
like
awesome.
Yeah, and we used to do stuff like in my yard in the middle of the day when we wouldn't get in trouble for it. Just have like 10 friends over and play music together, and I was doing that in high school. And then the drugs came, and then we couldn't do what we wanted to do in public anymore.
Yeah,
and had to hide.
You're throwing shows at 15. You've always been the man with the plan. Always been producing.
Yeah, I have ideas and I see them through. I've never been the guy at the end of the night that's coming up with these fantastical plans that everybody knows is not going to happen.
Yeah.
That just seems so boring and like a waste of time to me. Like, let's talk about let's talk about breakfast. Mm-hmm. Let's talk, like we can't talk about tomorrow because we know we're not going to be hanging out tomorrow. Let's talk about what's happening in the next hour, and then I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
And tell jokes.
Yep.
So after that, after high school, I did get into that whole jam scene, fish scene. And through working festivals, through working with bands, I got into this band. I started doing audio engineering for this one specific band that was very heavily influenced by LCD Sound System. They were like this really kind of aggressive, like dance rock. They were fantastic. They were called Color Channel. And I really kind of hit it off with the drummer, and he got me into Fish. And so I go to Fish, and through that, I kind of really leveled up my audio engineering career through working with that band, because then their manager was production manager on a few of these different festivals. And so he started hiring me to work for these different festivals around the Northeast, Maryland, Pennsylvania. And so I get hired to work this festival in Pennsylvania, and Fish was playing The Man in Philly the night before I was supposed to be there to set up.
Nice.
And so I go down, and I have this is going to tie back into the bunk police and just to get us back on track. And so I have the quintessential fish experience where like we didn't have any acid. We found some acid on lot. I snuck in a bunch of benzos, like rolled up in my sleeves, like just like, and we were just hammering ketamine like it was like we were getting paid for it. And so it was one of those experiences where it's like, where they tell you like fish is going to like tear you down and rebuild you in their image.
Yes.
It was that. And I'm still not convinced I'm not going to one day snap out of a K-hole at that after party. Like this whole life I've been living.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
Now Trey looked me in the eyes and sang "Oh Caspian" to me. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yes, it was that. And so, and then the next day I go to set this festival up and I just roll in. So now fish like set me up for a bender and I just roll through this festival on a bender. But I get there, I get there and I'm hot to trot. I'm having a good time. I'm ready to throw a party. And, and we like park our cars and we kind of hang out. Like it was the day before, and it was the day before even the equipment got there. You know, the equipment was showing up in the morning. So I get there and we're just kind of tailgating. And and it was as bunk police was like starting to take hold in the scene, like people were kind of trying to be aware of what they were ingesting. And I'm partying. I'm having a good time. You know, I'm a little loud. Like when I was partying, I was a loud guy. I was definitely a loud guy, you know, stir the pot. Let's get this thing fucking going. Let's have a good time. And so I'm doing that and we're tailgating and we got a few cars together and we're all hanging out and I'm eating this bag of Molly and I go to offer it. I'm like, do you want some of this Molly that I'm eating? I'm having a good time on it. She's like, it was a couple. And she's like, do you mind if I test some? Yeah, go for it. Test it. She's like, this is meth. I'm like, well, do you want some meth? Because it's what I'm doing.
And
yeah. Yeah. I'm having a good time. So
yeah.
Say no if you want to say no, but you're not changing my mind. And then I went on to that weekend. To drink a drink and pass around, but a liter of Jim Beam every day of that festival.
Whew.
All while mixing the B stage, you know. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
That was the height.
Respect.
That was the height.
Now, I do regret not being in the festivals as much as I could have been back in the day, or wanted to be, or I didn't want to be. What am I trying to say? Maybe I wouldn't have been able to hang, is what I'm trying to say.
I think you would have been. It wasn't long after that it all turned on me.
Yeah, indeed.
That I was like this, like, and I started to think that festivals were like arranged to attract me there, to lure me there, to sacrifice me for the greater good of humanity. Like the whole thing, like a bill was put together. They were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to put this show on just to lure me there and burn me in my tent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the line has to be drawn, right? That's where you know, or eventually.
Yeah, we're talking about lines.
You realize that. Yeah. That's intense.
So,
how did you get beyond that point? How did you come back from the edge?
I stopped eating acid and stopped smoking weed.
Indeed.
And just did pills and powders.
just keep it to the stuff a pharmacist might hand you.
Yes, for years, for like the last, like I'm sober now, but for the last 6-7 years, it was pretty much just pills and powders.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever. I couldn't hang with the trippy stuff anymore.
Yeah. No.
Except for ketamine. Ketamine is always a good time.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried ketamine, I suggest
it's on my list of things that I would still do. I'm like sober right now, but not like straight edge, not principally, not like
I'm not here to judge.
Trying to be sober. Well, like you say sober, and I think people get the idea that you're like maybe NA or AA, or you're like
you're not supposed to say it, but
I am not. I'm but I've made the decision that like weed's just not something I can handle.
Really?
And
What led you there?
now I'm on the meds that would make tripping like not as fun. I've read.
Okay.
I will experiment with that in the future. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had COVID. Like spending weed is oddly like a problematic addiction for me, and there's no moderation with it for me.
Really?
And it anxiety, like almost to the sort of persecutorial hallucination level you're describing.
Yeah.
Like anxiety to that level, and also total lack of motivation, depression. So I just had to stop. I was spending like $100 a day on hash oil. Like that's too much money.
Yeah.
That's way too much fucking money. It was like my income. Stopping that and vaping, I'm like rich now. It's ridiculous.
I know, right?
Ridiculous that I have the money that I have to like do things that are useful.
Yeah. That's why I'm able to do any of this is because I, I'm just I'm investing that time, energy, and money in more productive and constructive ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comedy was almost an anti-drug for me, but because weed is so prevalent and everyone's like, oh, it's like legal and medicine, I think that took me down. I went through a phase. I like decided that I needed to be able to perform high, so I like destroyed my tolerance. I'd like to the point where I took a 420 milligram edible
Jesus.
and tried to perform like.
So that's how you like to push your limits. You like to see how out yet in control you could be and still entertain.
Yeah, maybe it's a limits thing. I think also I just had to kind of confront my anxiety and like calm down. And the weed makes you, although it's a eventually there's diminishing returns, and eventually there's like a negative feedback loop with the weed.
Yeah.
It does make, euphoria feels good. Like there's bliss too.
I'm jealous of people who can tolerate weed. I wish I could.
Exactly how I feel. Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that I could. It's a whole lot of fun. And for some people, it's totally medicine. But for me, it's poison. For me, it's a bad idea to do it even one time. And
that's how I got when I was like 26. Because kind of after all that party, or like kind of in the middle of all that party stuff, I got hooked on the benzos. Mm-hmm. And it was like I couldn't, the weed wasn't doing it. The weed was giving me a panic attack.
Okay, maybe this is related. So when let's see, it's been like 4 months now. 4 months ago is when I was like, no more weed. I got myself in therapy. And like 2 months ago, I started antidepressants and SSRI. So this is related though. Right before that sort of rock bottom moment where I was like, I need to fucking not do this anymore.
Yeah.
I had been taking these nootropics that you can get on Nootropics Depot.
I know what you're talking about.
So, and the racetams are they're molecules that are very similar to benzos.
Yeah. Okay.
That are not really regulated. So you can just sort of get them and they help your memory. They make you feel good. So I was doing like a fucking regimen of this, like all these different fucking molecules, Nuopept, the triacetyluridine, aniracetam, piracetam, all these different benzo-related things.
Really?
And it makes you feel amazing and on it and very verbally fluent and like put together.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't. And it's very much dependency
It's a fine
forming.
line. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the interaction of those things with the weed was no good. Also, you're supposed to titrate like taper off of them.
Yes.
And I lost them all on a plane when I was coming back from California several months ago.
Really?
And
you
didn't
just
have money
stopped.
at the time and just stopped.
Oof.
And it was rough. It was really rough.
And you feel like that's when the weed took a turn?
Well, I feel like the weed was
already
problematic and taking
on its
a turn.
Way. Yeah.
And that just was like not weed's not,
It's when it hit you in the face.
it really hit me in the face that weed was not helping my situation.
Yeah.
Like I've had plenty of depressive episodes in my life, like felt lack of motivation, kind of down on myself. But this was what was like grief, like painful depression, like,
Wow.
and also lots of ideation of bad self-harm stuff. Like,
Really?
which I've had suicidal ideation in my life. I was a philosophy major. I think about death a lot,
Yeah.
but not like that. It was really bad. It was
got
so
scary.
bad. It got really scary.
And this was recently.
Yeah, I mean, it was COVID related too. I
Yeah.
was like very isolated from people as well, and I think I went through comedy withdrawal. I was getting up a lot of time, like multiple times a week.
Yeah.
I was getting that big rush.
And you
of
started
happy.
hosting stuff. Like
I
you
was
really started
hosting.
taking off.
It
Yeah.
I was just hitting a stride
Yeah.
and getting like a half an hour of or more of time.
Wow.
Like every week.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
You
doing
started what it sounds like is you started to feel like you had a routine. You were coming into
For
your
sure.
voice. Yeah.
For sure. I was on the cusp.
Yeah.
And then it was, taken away.
So,
It felt I still miss it horribly, of course, but
Yeah.
I think I underestimated the effect that had on my physiology. Like,
you're on your brain chemistry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was not laughing,
Yeah.
We had that show in our driveway.
Yeah.
That's when I noticed, I was
Really?
like, holy shit, I feel great.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's medicine. Laughter is medicine.
Yeah.
I need that. Weed's not a replacement. Nootropic drugs are not a replacement. Sorry, Joe Rogan. I'm just joking, Joe.
I tried some of the True Brain stuff, like the pouches.
Yeah.
When I changed jobs because I really need to hunker down and I didn't want to do Adderall. I
sure.
wasn't trying to be sober by any means, but I didn't want to.
Sure.
I was prescribed Adderall as early as in high school, and so it's I just was kind of over that, and I took some of the kind of upper True Brain stuff that comes in this liquid form pouch. I liked it, but I could feel it. Being a drug addict, you know that feeling. Of this is real. You can feel the firing in your brain.
For sure.
Okay. So what was college like? You said you went to New York.
Yeah, SUNY Albany with my wife at the time. I was married.
You were married.
I was married. Got married at 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
To high school sweetheart kind of thing?
Kind of thing, yeah.
Were you guys together for a while in high school or just the last couple of years?
Yeah, for a little while. Well, and we got married. I think she was in her last year of high school when we got married, and I had just graduated the year before.
Wow.
Yeah.
SUNY New York is a good school, though.
SUNY Albany is decent state school.
Albany, yeah.
It is. It's sort of a
University
not
of
quite
New
a
York.
new pulse, not quite a purchase, but it's good. It's maybe one of the better SUNYs.
It's also, a state school.
Friggin' diverse.
Is it?
In many ways.
So liberal.
Well, yeah, very well. Yeah, New Yorkish liberal.
Yeah,
and
but is that where you kind of became? Is that where your political, brain became activated?
That's interesting. When did I get politicized? Well, I was kind of raised by very politicized people, so I don't know, but.
Because we're gonna hear
Occupy happened.
Occupy happened. Because
Yeah.
we're gonna hear a lot about your politics and your job in Tim's show, A Better Tomorrow. But I want to kind of, how did you get there? So through Occupy.
Yeah. I mean, Occupy definitely was a big sort of reckoning for me, for sure. Yeah, we slept in a park in Albany for 3 days, and we did the Albany.
Chapter
thing. Yeah.
I remember that. I was in college for that too.
Word.
Yeah.
It was the first year I was in Albany, I think, probably.
Really?
But,
so you were primed. You were ready.
I was ready.
Ready to be radicalized.
I sort of like thought of myself as a radical already.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because I was listening to Choking Victim and like
Yeah.
Leftover Crack. I thought that was super radical.
See, by that time I was going the other way. I was into like Modest Mouse and like getting more into like indie rock, like the Allston. I was living in Allston, Boston, which is like a hip borough of Boston.
Okay.
And I was completely detached from politics or the news or current events or anything like that. I was just playing music and party. You know?
I mean, for sure, at least in my like personal underinformed philosophy, I felt like I was a radical. I don't know that I was
in coming out of high
a
school.
lot of attention. Yeah, and I was always my parents are like super liberal, and my grandparents are like, they were like hippies. My dad went to a free school. Like,
Yeah.
I knew where my values were. I was raised in the left. Like,
Yes.
my grandfather was the like faculty supervisor of their chapter of Students for a Democratic Society. Like, and the FBI definitely had like a weatherman file on my dad's family. Like,
Really?
for sure. My grandmother's brothers dodged the draft. They live in Canada still. Like,
Wow.
peace and love,
Cool.
was the thing. So, and just being a queer kid in in rural Pennsylvania also
Did you
sets
recognize
apart.
that young?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Yeah. I think I was calling
It wasn't
myself
called
bi.
that. Yo, you were.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have described myself then as non-binary, which I would now.
Okay.
I really loved Eddie Izzard. My first favorite comic was Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
So I was wearing, like, had a purse, wearing like not makeup but nail polish, girl pants, girl clothes.
He was getting airtime.
For sure.
Yeah.
And my family just loved Eddie Izzard, so it was like also the family aspect.
That's interesting.
But yeah, Dress to Kill, my favorite special to this day.
Okay.
So I identified very much with the transvestite thing.
Okay.
And like knew that which now in the language that we have today, I would call queer in some whatever the fuck umbrella terminology people need to sort of zoom in on. But yeah, I knew that I was not straight.
Okay.
For a while, I had a bit about just identifying as not straight. Like if people ask if you're gay, my reply was, well, I'm not straight. That used to fly, but I feel like very recently people like want to be hip to some fucking lexicon that me, a queer person, needs to like read up on. So I feel like there's these hetero people and like cis hetero people coming at me with terminology expecting me to know. So like I feel invalidated as a person who's literally experiencing a non-binary gender. People are coming at me like, well, but are you this, that, and that? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like,
that's the crazy thing about this whole movement, this whole, what you're speaking on is that it's the people who aren't identifying with it that are defining it for some reason.
Yeah, in some cases, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's how I feel. And very often, I feel like
I'm not trying to rail against anything.
Right.
I
don't want to be taken that way either, of like railing against. But we should, in some way,
I think that
rail against that.
I think what needs to be pushed back is that let people speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, if somebody's going to be outraged about something that somebody says about a specific sect of human. Yeah. Let that human respond and not let these rubberneckers, get out in front of it.
There's a lot of white knighting that happens for sure. People want to be, there's a lot of self-righteousness. Yeah. And yeah, we shouldn't ignore the influence of social media in that aspect of it, because like that's where that shit breeds.
And that flies. It really is the only place you see it.
For sure.
It doesn't really exist in the real world.
Between people. That's the thing. Between interpersonally, just you and I.
You'll see it in a comedy club a little bit. You'll see it in a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see.
But
the humanity of a crowd. I miss it so much.
I know. You'll see that, but like my cousin is fucking whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but if your cousin was here, they'd probably be laughing. You know?
Right.
And
Well,
so,
yeah.
and it's like, that's what turns people off about that whole thing. And just
It's one of those aspects for sure.
Just you approaching it the way that you did almost validates that, because you're like, I want to laugh and I want to, like,
it's all hilarious, right? Yeah. Like,
I'm never not in on the joke, you know?
I get that. I get like the power dynamics that are at play, but like, let us imagine a perfect world where we would all be laughing. That's not maybe the one that we live in. So there are sometimes moments where it's like the laughter is very vicious. Like there is an ugly kind of laughter, but I really think that it's maybe a better strategy, like coping wise, for people to navigate this world with a lot more laughter and levity. And like,
I want to take ourselves out of the mainstream version of this conversation.
Yeah.
And into the localized version of this conversation. Because that mainstream version of the conversation really has nothing to do with us. And it really has nothing
and
like
I
this.
Think it's circuitous and people are kind of sick of having it. And it's like, it's becoming a self-aware dialogue that it's like self-referential at this point. Like we understand that there are reactive people on either side now. I think we need to kind of embrace that. And like, if you're a woke person who still doesn't accept
who's still overreacting,
it's like, that's bad. Now we're all about like having the hard conversation, doing the work, like, but still there are people who are like, we can't do bipartisanship. When you start talking politics, it gets tricky because like we have a two-party system and a bicameral body of legislators.
That's where when it gets wrapped up into politics, that's where it becomes tricky in general.
Yeah.
Because politics
between people, I think a lot, and like, what does that even mean? Because like by and large, in a liberal town, in my little bubble, it's totally irrelevant to me, right?
Yeah.
People are evolving quickly. Maybe that's because we all have social media though, right? Isn't that weird? That kind of like,
well, it's also because we all really just want to get along.
Yeah.
And we want to like the people who we see on the street every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people, I think, want a reason to carry themselves above everyone else and hate on the ignorant masses. I think people like to do that. There's an impulse in people, even good people, to kind of think very little of people and to be kind of misanthropic, even though they'll say that they love everything and they love humanity.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's tough. And we're talking about language. Like,
we are, yeah.
And people do not.
How did we get here? So
language it's incredibly hard to talk about.
So we got here from you identifying as not straight.
Yeah.
As far back as you can kind of remember identifying yourself sexually.
Yeah. I've always been a 2 on the Kinsey scale. And I've always, until very recently, I didn't recognize this, but I've always been a gender variant person. Like, okay, I don't come off that way to people often, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not a conversation we would have.
Right. It's
not even something I'm interested in.
I'm like,
you know, it's like,
I would say I'm a non-binary dude. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just.
Although no, I don't like that because it's kind of gendering dude, but that's kind of the point because dude's only kind of gendered like me.
Yeah.
I like it. I changed my mind twice in that sentence.
Dude,
I like it.
Dude. I feel like dude is open-ended.
Right.
Like, dude, what's up, dude?
I mean, I use dude for everything and everyone.
Yeah.
All the time,
man.
Dude.
I use man so much.
Yeah, man is gender neutral.
I feel like
come on,
man.
Neutral. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was queer in high school.
So
And still am.
So
I knew I was queer then.
you knew you were queer then.
Yeah.
But it wasn't queer. It was not straight.
It was not straight. It was bi.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter because I was monogamous with a girl.
You got married.
At 18.
Wow.
Yeah. Divorced at 21, but
were you guys
a happy story because she got a green card.
What? That came out of left field.
Yeah, well, it was still a heartbreak, and it was still like a genuine breakup and marriage, but it was
where
it was good ultimately.
Where she Canadian?
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brasileira. It was
and you guys met in high school?
Yeah.
And she was what? An exchange student?
No, she came to the country and overstayed a visa, but was brought to the country as a minor at like 6 years old, I think.
Okay.
And then said they were going to Disney World and just stayed. Her mom worked in the city, then moved to PA, commuted to work in Jersey for a while. So she grew up in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Yeah. But then we met. She was my best friend's girlfriend and he treated her horribly. So, yeah.
Wow.
We became high school sweethearts for a minute, and her home life was kind of like whack and really crazy. And she
must
lived
have been
with
tense.
us. She moved into my house. Like we lived with my parents
Really?
for her last year of high school.
Wow.
And I was going to college, commuting to college an hour and a half away in Madison, New Jersey.
So you guys weren't living together in your parents' house. You had already moved out. Oh.
No, we did for a year. I had a live-in girlfriend at 18. Well, fiance. Wow. My parents are pretty cool. They were pretty cool.
That's a little funny because I had not the same but similar situation. I had this girlfriend all through high school. First, we started seeing each other in middle school, and her parents at first they said that she was too young to date, and then we just never stopped hanging out because we were like, well, no. And then it turned into them hating me for that and forbidding her to see me. And of course that makes it, much more engaging.
Yep.
And then by the time, we were in high school, I think it was junior year, she got kicked out for still seeing me. This is 3 years later.
Wow.
4 years later. 4 years later. She's kicked out of her house for seeing me.
Wow.
And lived with me, and that's what finally broke us apart. That's what finally broke us up, was living in my house.
Cohabitation. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was traumatic for me.
Oh, I'm sure. The first couple of breakups are hard. The first one's pretty damn hard, but because
she started seeing somebody while she was living in my house.
Oh, that's really rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is remarkably similar to my situation and the trauma that it left me with, because it was best friend's girl. He treated her bad, and then we became a thing, and then we moved out, lived together in Albany, in Schenectady, actually, while I was going to school, and then later in Albany. And my best friend, another best friend of mine, moved in with us along with a whole flop house scenario of people, and in college, and then they ended up being a thing. So it was like friend to friend.
Wow.
And that was very traumatic. Yeah, very traumatic. I was also just so the one worth leaving. You know what I mean? I was just shitty Caleb at the time. Like I was like not fully formed adult yet. I was.
Yeah.
And like
I'm not now.
For a variety of reasons. Yeah. Like she made a good move there. Like she did a good.
Women are
thing
generally more advanced and smarter than young men are.
For sure.
Anyway.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. She was precocious and like brilliant and yeah.
So, but it was traumatic for you.
Oh yeah. First real
to
depression.
lose your love to a friend when you guys were married.
Sense of betrayal. Yeah. There was a real I really was super into monogamy at the time, and like thought that we were going to be together, forever, grow together for a long time.
Wow.
And it broke down really fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's traumatic.
Sorry. Yeah. That's a lot. And then while you're in school, so
yeah, I dropped out for a
you
semester.
Did. That was going to be my question. Yeah.
When I entered college, I was on track at SUNY Albany to get a master's degree in 3 years. And I ended up taking 5 years to get a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
So that's how that went.
I also took 5 years to get my bachelor's.
Word.
Yeah.
I'm learning we are so much more similar than I ever thought.
Yeah.
But fucking, was it? Yeah, like 5 years. Took my time. I recommend people do that. Just like, don't stress. Don't kill yourself.
I had a great time.
Yeah. I had a wonderful time.
I learned how to party.
Did a ton of drugs. Yeah. Did a lot of partying. Got it out of my system mostly.
Yeah.
A lot of experiences. A lot of playing music.
Yeah.
Just jamming.
So when you...
So great. And I worked full time. That was also, if anything, like...
You worked full time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Do you...
Like 33 hours a week. Yeah.
What do you accredit that to giving you in after?
It was just so valuable. I think real world work experience. Like, I feel like working in a kitchen, working at a Target. I feel like this is a line from the general manager of El Loco Mexican Cafe. She always used to say, and she's very right, that instead of like 2 years mandatory military service in America, you should have 2 years mandatory service of like service industry.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Go be the one. Yeah, we'd have way less of the Karen thing going on if people knew the fucking hustle and the flow of a restaurant or like work. I did work at a warehouse included in that. Like, just break your back, do labor.
Yeah.
I'm so glad for that experience. As much, if not more than, I'm glad that I read a shit ton of philosophy and learned about ancient Greeks.
Well, interacting with everyday, day-to-day, general human beings is much more informative than anything you can get from, education.
Yeah,
strictly.
100%. I mean,
in conjunction with...
It serves you more unless you're really hell-bent on a career path early. And like, why at 18 do you know what you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
You fucking don't. Like, I certainly, at least I knew that I didn't at 18. And philosophy was a good way to, bridge.
Kind of put that off.
Yeah. There was an actual study that philosophy majors are the most likely major to have experimented with hard drugs.
Really?
Yes. It makes so much sense. But where was it? What was it?
How hard of drugs did you experiment with?
Not hard. I was living with a heroin addicted cocaine dealer upstairs and a crack addict for a while who would bring home crack addicts from time to time, and
as they do,
an alcoholic, misogynist, 32-year-old perpetual college student, those types of vagrants who just sort of prey on girls on college campuses and have rich parents that pay for them to go to school forever.
Yeah.
And are like working on their second bachelor's degree.
Yeah. That basically just fund drug dealers.
Yeah. Yep. And like the bodegas. Yeah. And just like, I don't know how and just smoke cigs.
Yeah.
I lived with like an eclectic group of very eccentric people and drug addicts. I'm
imagining more of like a Beats life, more of like a, just on trying to find the lines of acceptability within, culture, and how you can push your limits while still being maintain a healthy relationship with the world around you.
Very well said. Yeah. It was a liminal experience, that flop house. People moving in and out all the time. Jack, the heroin dealer,
So
just
how
chilling
did,
on the couch,
'cause
all the, you know.
to me, that seems like a very linear track into comedy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Um, is that because it seems like that's what a lot of your comedy came from, at least when I started to see you, was from experiences in that house.
Yeah, I did write a lot about that. I haven't done even nearly as much as I've written about it, but um yeah, I think as
When
you
did,
said, trying to find, I was radically open. I thought of myself essentially, this kind of goes back to my dad and the free school, right? Like
Mhm.
I was sort of in my head, not consciously, but I was set out to prove that I wasn't going to squander the free school experience. I was going to make the most of it.
Okay.
But I was not in a free school. So I created an environment around myself that was like anything goes, right?
Yeah.
You're a crack addict. Like you're clearly addicted to heavy drugs.
Yeah.
Whatever. We love you. Like, come on in. We're going to talk. I'm doing like a study group. We would have like talk circle, whatever you call it, like an informal just discussion group
Yeah.
around the things that I was learning in like my creative writing class, and the people that were there were like drug addicts
And you'd be doing
and stoner artists.
You'd be doing these discussion prompts.
Yeah, and like it was great. Like that was
It sounds like fun.
awesome to be in an environment like that with like that one of my very good friends at the time, Dylan, was just a stoner artist who maybe paid rent 2 months out of the like 2.5 years we lived there. I don't know, like, and we just like collected furniture off the side of the street, and like, it was a flop house.
It sounds
beat life sort of thing.
It sounds very close to the Alston existence that I lived.
Word.
Yeah.
Just
to relate it back to like we've lived. I wish I was more sexually liberated than I am, but we've lived such mirrored lives. It makes sense why we just kind of uh knee jerk accepted each other just surfacely,
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's not the Alston was, especially my time there, was just a neighborhood of flop houses.
Right.
It was a neighborhood of broke college students.
Yeah, it was very much a college ghetto environment that I was living in.
College ghetto.
It's amazing how like segregated the cities are in America. It's just
Especially
really clear example is Albany, New York.
Northeast.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
designed that way.
Yeah,
it's fucked up. But
very much so.
And it's amazing how like different the policing is. I remember that about my college experience. Was like walking completely fucked up out of my mind through the closed park with no fear.
No.
Right? Like
I've never even been approached by a police officer.
Yeah. It's actually okay. So I was arrested at one point in Albany, but it's amazing that my arrest was not drug related at all.
Yeah.
Is fucking hilariously tragic. Like,
yes.
It's bad. Yeah. And then just the partying, like the frat partying, like, yeah. Albany, the SUNY Albany is notorious for their like kegs and eggs riot on St. Patty's Day.
It's a yearly riot.
Well, they had a particular year that was like really bad.
Oh, really?
A few years before I was there.
It sounds a little like Amherst, where it's like college.
I don't know Amherst.
It's like college town. It's like state college town, but a little in like this kind of rural, secluded place. But Albany's the capital of New York, so it is a city.
It is a city, but it's not huge. It's like pretty small city.
Okay.
So I don't know. And it's very much that though, not just SUNY Albany. It's a college town. There's RPI in Troy, and there's College of St. Rose. There's like numerous colleges there. So
that's Boston. Where I went to school, I went to the New England Institute of Art, which was this small for-profit. It was an AI for-profit just in Brookline. But there's BC, there's BU, there's Emerson, there's and then there's all the other ones. There's MIT, there's Harvard, there's downtown Boston, Suffolk, there's like
Indeed.
1,000 colleges. And so it's
it
like
makes for quite a decadent nightlife.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting place to go through your early 20s.
But in Alston, specifically in like the rock scene, it was like, I pretty much just partied with kids that like BU, BC, they kind of work their way in, but pretty much just AI and Berkeley, just.
Yeah. See, I've never been one too much for partying. So I guess my scene ended up being just the most accepting people ever, which is that music festival, hippie, Dopapod following crowd.
I love Dopapod.
Yeah.
I just watched their live stream last night. They
Really?
just did a live stream last night.
Sick.
Yeah.
They're really amazing.
They're my favorite band.
They like one of my...
You like them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I fucking love Dopapod.
I didn't know that. They're literally my favorite band.
With like one of I think the drummer's girlfriend, maybe not. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I was in that circle. Of
those guys formed at Berkeley in Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they played
cool.
like they played these. They came up in this artsy Alston,
Yeah.
party scene that I was a part of. Papadosio. Yeah. It was Dopapod and Indobox were friends of ours, and then there's our friends band called the Jaunty that kind of came out of that general scene too.
Cool.
They all kind of played this one residency in Boston out of Wonder Bar, and that's actually where I started comedy, was in the basement of that bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Good connection to Dopapod.
Yeah.
Glad I mentioned Dopapod.
Yeah.
They are a really, really fucking good band. And
they're my favorite band.
They're
that aggressive dance, and they funk, and it's like, they're my favorite.
I never partied so much, but those...
While they were in Boston, I wasn't into that. I was trying to do my own indie rock thing. And then it wasn't until my last few years in Boston that I started working with Color Channel that got me into the festivals that I started running into them. But by that time they were headlining these smaller festivals. They played actually the second year of that Luna Light that I talked about that was in Pennsylvania. The second year was down in Maryland. They were a headliner on that as well Papadosio.
Yeah.
Then they played this Disc Jam. Disc Jam was a really well-known one, but they were Disc Jam was kind of the black hat to like the crew that I was in, who threw this festival called Camp Coldbrook. But yeah, that's throw all the way back.
Yeah,
throwing it all the way back.
You were part of that scene. We would have hung out in college.
Yeah.
If you were in Albany,
yes,
I guess, or if I were in.
Well, that's funny
Boston
because
area.
this Disc Jam also came out of kind of that. They started that Disc Jam was in that upstate New York, kind of just outside Massachusetts. That's where that festival started.
Yeah,
and that's the festival that really kind of blew up Dopapod. That and nice. Catskill Chill.
Catskill Chill sounds super familiar.
Yeah. Those were the two festivals that really helped blow up Dopapod, like level up and gain that following.
Yeah. I know that they were well loved in Albany.
Were they?
Well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why. That's got to be why.
Along with Consider the Source.
Yes.
I fucking love that.
I've mixed them at that festival, at that Luna Light festival. Yeah.
They're insanely talented.
And I've seen them play Lizard Lounge in Cambridge a few times. Yeah.
I want to see them
band.
live.
Yeah.
They're crazy talented. That dude can make his guitar. His double necked one is fretless and one's fretted.
Yes.
It's wild.
And then the bassist also has the bass tones on the pedals while he's got the subs on his feet while he's playing the bass. They're next level musicians.
Yeah, they are. I love that virtuoso level of like.
They're definitely one of the best bands I've gotten to mix like front of house for.
That's so cool that you did that. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Sound.
But yeah, so we like all the same things.
We like a lot of the same things, and that's things that I carry from my college days. Yeah. I got into it kind of just after college. I lived in Alston for 8 years
It took me 5 years to finish college, and I hung around for another few years after.
I would have been hanging around if it weren't for the bed bugs that made 126 Western Ave in Albany just not a thing anymore.
Really?
And I moved back in with my folks briefly.
And then how'd you get to Maine?
I re-met a friend from high school who was still living in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Through OkCupid, and then we fell in love and moved to Maine.
Okay.
She was obsessed with moose, and
I like that bit.
It's just that's a real story of coming to Maine. Like, oh my God, we're gonna see moose, and then we just stayed.
Wow.
And I've just stayed. She now lives in Seattle, and I stayed.
And you found your home here.
Yeah, I found a spot. I want to stay here. This is a cool spot. I like Maine a lot.
It looks good on you.
Thanks very much. What? How did I? Where was I going with that? Maine.
Right here. We're right here right now.
The bed bugs.
Oh, the bed bugs. Yeah, that. But
when 126.
It generally that kind of hippie-esque communal existence isn't that sustainable, the flop house
it
existence.
Was a microcosm of the free school experience that I needed to sort of have my own boundaries set. Like I realized literally like the point at which you just decide, okay, we have to kick Chad out. Like literally that is such a formative experience for me. Like dealing with people that people don't get in a dorm room like life. You know what I mean? I just don't think you get that from that. And like also working too. You don't get.
My last couple years in Boston, which was, I got up here about 6 years ago. I love it. I love being part of the community here. I feel embraced by the community here. Mm-hmm. But my last couple years in Boston, I was living with in one house with 6 other people, one house with like 8 other people at one point.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's just
you definitely learn. Yeah, you definitely learn what you can and cannot tolerate.
For sure.
I cannot tolerate living with a human being that I am not devoted to.
Yeah.
And then even then it's a stretch.
Yeah. I can sleep through a beer pong keg rager, but I draw the line at taking a swing at a drunk 19-year-old, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That there has to be lines. A line.
I was slow to the uptake on that one.
Damn.
Yeah. This conversation, I got to start titling episodes because this one's fucking draw me a line.
There's a fish song, and I step to the line.
Yeah.
Fuego.
Back. Oh yeah. And then there's also backwards down the number line.
Cool. Oh my God. No, dude, the one fish
Fuego's
show that
good,
I was in my life ever at, I was so geeked out on acid that I bought on lot and stood still as a statue. We was at Saratoga Springs.
I know that feeling. Yeah. SPAC.
That's what. Yes. We were in the lawn, dead center.
I've never been there. I know it's a big performance space though.
Yeah, we were like outside.
Yep.
And there's like inside, and then there's like outside.
It's a
on
pavilion.
The lawn, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And dead center, staring at Trey Anastasia and not moving. Only person in the crowd at a fish show not dancing their butt off. Right. I was taller than the whole crowd. Right. I promise you. I know I was on acid and feeling kind of like Jesus or whatever, but Trey Anastasio stared at me and sang Caspian, which is like, it was just so funny.
You're the one guy that's not into it.
And I was like the one person, right?
Well, you know.
I guarantee you could see me, just a big fucking me, just not dancing while he was singing, and he had this smile on his face. And at one point, I was so still the whole time that somebody behind me started poking the back of my knee, just like trying to get
try
me
to bring you
move.
into it. Yeah.
And I just did not. I
Wow.
swear that would like, so the friend that brought me, thank you, Alex Victor, who's like a huge fish head, like loves fish so much, has been to like 30 fish shows. One of these people who's just like
I
so
have
into
friends.
fish.
Yeah. Yep. Not me. I'm too broke to be a fish fan.
He like just like he like kind of lost respect for me that night. Like he was like,
You couldn't
Caleb's
hang.
not good people.
Really?
Like, yeah, because he didn't dance.
That's too bad.
Yeah, you know, that was how Alex was feeling about me.
I've been overwhelmed by them like that. My first fish shows were was a New Year's Eve run at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And the first night I did not have fun.
No.
I had a full-blown panic attack.
Oh no.
and the second night I left on the verge of tears.
Oh no.
Just like, I'm not enjoying any of this. And then the third night we got miracled. We just were too tired to drive home.
Yeah.
We were too tired to drive back to Boston from New York. And so we just went and had our fingers in the air looking for tickets, and we ended up getting miracled onto the floor. And that's when I kind of broke through for me. That's when I started dancing, having a good time.
Hell yeah.
Before that, it was Dopapod. I fucking love Dopapod, man.
They're awesome.
But they're heavily fish inspired. Yeah. I also, I'll take, honestly, this is probably going to be the most controversial thing I'll say in this episode.
Okay.
Is that I'll take a Grateful Dead cover over Fish any day.
You can't air any of this now. You can't take it out. Bleep that whole part.
I will take a local Grateful Dead tribute band over the actual Fish.
Words. I'm not super attached. I love it all. It's like jam bandy stuff is just all good.
But I think
Dopapod does feel like a little more appealing to me because it is like that aggressive dancing. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
it's
I like
house,
jam bandy for my generation.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
They're translating it. They're translating it for us. You know, they're saying the same thing. Works. It's all the same language.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's a different dialect.
Very well said. Hell yeah. Yep. You reminded me of the time I had to pick up. I went with a work friend to pick up another work friend, her boyfriend at the time, because he was in the hospital after ending the Primus show by having a panic attack and throwing a beer at the stage. So they didn't do an encore. They were like, yeah, Albany, somebody threw beer. It's not cool. We're out. And that was my friend Dan who threw a beer.
I've flipped out at a show before. I flipped out on Trey, actually.
What?
Yeah.
On him?
Yeah, pretty much, more or less.
Him, like, does Trey have a memory of this? Maybe.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. So this conversation has got. I try to go into these linear. We're just having so much fun that it's like, fuck it, you know.
Yeah. I feel like this has been less of an origin story of me and more of a like the things that I've grown out of and past and beyond. Like I
feel like that's what this show is becoming anyway.
That's cool.
Is like how are you growing from your traumas?
I like that.
I feel like that's,
and also
because that's what I'm doing. So
I do want to like add that qualifier, but I'm not. I think that people are like, you have to be a little self-effacing. Like you have to be a little bit like, I'm no longer the like take a 10 strip of acid, hang out in the park all day kind of person. But like I don't regret that. Having gone through that has
it
made
informs where I am now.
Yeah, I feel like I would be, I don't know, like one of these people that's all like caught up in the rat race or whatever. And I've found a path.
But I also
through all that stuff that led me to where I am, and right where I am is pretty fucking great. I like have a hobby I love. I have a job I love in a place I love. You know, like this notion, I think that like you're gonna ruin your life. It like just is not. Doesn't sit with me. It's like I you know, use and abuse
has informed me, has informed who I am as a human being. And even in the thick of it, I know that there are people who I affected for the better. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
And so I don't regret any of it.
Yeah.
I think I want to tell you this story about flipping out on Trey.
Oh,
we've gone so off track where I just, I'm trying to really just find out what this show is going to be anyway. And I like to tell stories that relate to your story. And, it's like my original idea for a show was going to be Tales from a Nobody. That name is taken, but the idea was like, come with like your story that you like have polished and good and like really informs who you are as a human being. And then I'll tell my story that relates to that, whatever story I think of that relates to that story. And then we'll just have a conversation that peters off. That was the original idea. Then I was like, well, I'm just going to do my Mark Maron impression and try to get to know people. And so I'm somewhere in between that.
It's been compelling. I mean, I'm in it. I don't know if someone would want to watch this.
I'll edit it together.
I feel like people who watch podcasts are kind of in for this,
I feel like that too.
They want to just see two people enjoy a conversation that goes all over the place.
It's honest conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do bring it back. We bring it, talking about lines, there's
a thread. We're in Maine. We're talking about Maine.
Yeah. We're cutting up lines.
And there's lines.
Yeah.
All right.
So
give me this Trey line.
So, it was your friend ended the show in Albany of Primus because he threw a beer at the stage. Yeah. This also has to do with Les Claypool and then Trey Anastasio.
Okay.
So I attended this festival for a few years in Scranton, Pennsylvania called Peach Fest. Mm-hmm. That was like my vacation. I went to 3 years of it. And I had a great time. Loved it. Loved that festival. I think that festival is for being a more highly attended corporatized style festival. It's got the most real communal feeling of a festival that's happening today.
Nice.
So one year they bring on, It was the Les Claypool and Sean Lennon, the Claypool Lennon Delirium. John Lennon's son. So they did a band together called the Claypool Lennon Delirium. And I was very excited to see it. I'm a big fan of Les Claypool. Not huge Primus fan specifically, but I like the aggression. Mm-hmm. I like to get a little dark. True. and laugh into the void. I like that. Mm-hmm. And so I was very excited for this set. Just to set it back up, the beginning of this day started with me and my good friend at our campsite buying a bag of Molly because it was crystal clear and literally had a rock this big that we called the Rock of Gibraltar.
Okay. All right.
And so we're eating that.
This is the morning?
That was how this day started.
Okay.
Now we're at nighttime of that morning.
All right.
From not sleeping. We're the only ones awake at the campsite.
Right.
And we buy what looks like the purest Molly we've ever encountered.
All right. Did it get tested? Is this...
No,
okay.
My test was that as I was eating it, I felt like I was sweating out the cut of every other drug I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah, okay.
So that's pure enough for me. That passes my tests. And that's my bunk police. is my sweat glands.
It was probably meth.
It was definitely meth. That's what I go for anyway. That's what when I test I want. That's what I'm looking for. So during the Claypool Lennon Delirium, it's finally happening in front of me, and it's starting to get dark. It's starting to get good. And I'm like, yes, finally, I can let a little beast out for the weekend. All this, all fucking this love, hippie love, fucking yeah. I'm here for it, but I gotta let my beast out a little bit. And I feel like my back starting to arch. Like I feel like I feel like a
Wolfman.
werewolf. Yes. As I'm starting to form my mouth to howl, they get pulled off stage for weather.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no.
And so I'm just blue balled. Completely blue balled.
You had a lot of pent up wolf. and then it just got cock blocked. Okay.
Yeah, they were doing this King Crimson cover, and it was like,
Les
you shook at that.
King Crimson cover.
Yeah, they were doing this King Crimson cover, and it was like, and so,
I get it.
and so I'm blue balled.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden this torrential downpour starts to happen where the whole lawn has to join us under the pavilion. Like they gave us barely any time to prepare. We were under the pavilion. The whole lawn joins us under the pavilion. All of a sudden it starts to rain. There's so much rain coming down from the lawn that it literally floods under our feet. There's this rush of water under our feet. Now the whole pavilion is up on the seats, so that we're not getting swept away by the rush of water entering and it gets scary.
Damn.
Yeah, it gets scary. But I'm in wolf. I'm a wolf, and I'm screaming. I'm howling at the moon. I'm thriving on this chaos, and the festival was almost lucky that they had Trey Band on deck, because now Trey Anastasio comes on and really settles the whole mood, really just irons the whole thing out. You know, now it's fresh linen in that place. You know, now we're fucking cotton soft. You know, we're a bunch of Cottonelle teddy bears in this pavilion.
Were you still Wolfman?
I'm undercover wolf in this sea of teddy sheep.
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, this sea of teddy sheep. I want to see Les Claypool. And there's Trey on stage, and I guess Trey's okay, but I want to see Les Claypool.
Why did Trey replace Liz and Lennon?
Well, because a little did I know that they were almost done with their set. Right. But the show got pushed like an hour. You know, this rain situation happened for like
an hour.
Yeah,
and
40,000 people.
Trey calmed everything down.
Trey comes in irons, and I'm seething. It's just in this crowd of dancing people, and I'm Wolfman just. And then all of a sudden, I start to see lightning. And I start screaming, "Get Trey off stage! Get him out of here! You kicked Les off! Get Trey out of here!" And I'm flipping out so hard, I'm standing on the seats. I'm like, get him off stage! That my friends had to literally pull me down and calm me down and be like, "You're causing a scene."
Yeah.
So that'll
do it.
Fully flipping out at Trey Anastasio.
Wow. Yeah, you would have caused a scene. I would have been like, get that guy out of here. Or I would have been so high, I would have been like, maybe get Trey to leave. Can Trey leave? Just calm this guy down. Why wouldn't he just acquiesce to this angry wolf? We are but sheep here.
We are but teddy sheep.
Yeah. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. So Caleb Sherman, I love you.
Oh, I love you, man.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I know this was less about you than I thought.
Oh,
but at the same time, so much more than I even could conceive.
It was about us.
Yeah. That's where I'm gonna cut it.
All right.
No, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for just having this whole space and being the man with the plan, the producer, the storyteller, and getting me into this wonderful this wonderful dialogue that we just had.
Yeah.
hope
If
it will be
anybody's
entertaining.
unhappy about what had just transpired, you can email me at polarstarpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or even better, visit the website and you can contact me through there, and I'll have Caleb back and we'll I don't
talk.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll perform more sexual acts.
Okay. Let's do it. That's behind the paywall, right? On the website. Okay.
We only
Do I get a cut of that?
we only do teasers and then the rest is $25.
Do you know on OnlyFans there's this very popular service that many people that have OnlyFans offer that is called dick rating?
Yes.
Are you familiar with this?
I am. I haven't done it because I know that my dick is a soft 4. But
Okay, yeah, but like who's? I mean, that I feel like that service being on the menu is just sex work explained, just right there. Just like there's such a need for male validation
for somebody to look at your dick
and
just look at it.
I will pay you to say nice things about my dick. That is what it's just like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And bless.
I can't say I haven't considered it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say I've never done it.
I just feel like folks are doing that. That's just a really fun.
Folks be doing it.
I am glad
it doesn't cost much. It's like $10.
We live in the golden age of ethically produced porn.
Yeah, I would prefer to pay for porn.
Yeah.
I think paying at this point really. I'm lumping porn consumption and masturbation in with addiction. And,
I have to have that conversation with myself.
I finally did it, and honestly, that's what got me to take sobriety seriously. Was I didn't masturbate for 60 days.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and
was
now
that like life changing? Was that
kind of? Yeah. Whew. I mean, I started at 12. 11.
I tried it. I made it 16 days.
Really?
Yeah. That's kind of when I was like, ooh, you couldn't do that.
I meditated a lot.
Okay.
And now I'm trying to be a lot more conscious about porn consumption and masturbation to a point where, just being aware, not having it
just
be
daily. Yeah.
Part of my routine, my nighttime routine. I no longer have a masturbation routine, which I had a clearly defined masturbation routine.
Yep. I'm familiar with it. Yes. Yeah.
And recognizing that it was unhealthy. Well,
it's a real thing. It's like, just like anything, it can occupy too much space in one's life. And like, I think there's a conversation to be had just about fantasy. Like, gaming can take up too much space in somebody's life.
Yeah.
I think probably there are people who read too many novels, and are just doing that way too often. It's probably.
I even was led toward this guided meditation that said you can't take this you can't go too far with this now. Like
meditation is the one thing you can't overdo unless you're going full monk.
No,
hermit.
You can overdo meditation.
Oh, is what they were saying.
Yeah.
You don't need to do this for 2 hours a day. Don't put that pressure on yourself.
Exactly.
Word.
If you're using this as a substitute, you're not doing it right. Which I was.
Wow.
You know?
Profound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that really loops us all the way back around.
Wow, to meditation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love you.
I love you,
It was a wonderful
man.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
People like, comment, and subscribe. Do it now.
Thank you.
Yeah. People do it.
Bye.
Bye.